welcome to Real Talk, where every Sunday night we offer educational opportunities and discussion about real topics, real issues, and offer real solutions. Tonight, our guest is Jodi from Hip to Heart. She's a doula, she's a lactation educator, you're a CAPPA doula trainer, right, Julie?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Jodi? Sorry, I'm saying Julie.
Lactation educator.
Right. And you also have a doula agency. You service clients as well.
Yep.
You can read her full bio in the feed, but Jodi has a really strong and growing audience, specifically on the business end of being a doula. And we're excited to chat with her and have her share some great insights because, as we know, a lot of us go into this industry with a passion and a desire to serve families. But many of us don't have such a strong business background. And that's where the kind of service and the kind of specialty that Jodi has can really enhance your career as a doula and really bring something extra that makes you that much more successful. So welcome. We're glad to have you tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Great. So I would love to start first with you telling us a little bit about your background, a little bit about your journey and how you got your start in the field, because I really feel like this speaks to the passion that we all share about serving families, but also then to kind of share with us how you got into the training and the business side of it, what you saw and what you wanted to fill with.
Yeah. No, for sure. So I graduated college with a hotel and restaurant degree and a business degree. So I thought I wanted to do that, did it for a couple of years, and then realized it was absolutely not for me. And thought I wanted to be a nurse. I definitely wanted to do labor and delivery, mom and baby, but realized very quickly the clinical part was not for me. I loved the social part and the emotional part and just the mom and baby relationship. And then I got pregnant and had a baby. And I realized very quickly that there's so much left, to sort of do and figure out on your own after you have a baby. And I knew then the direction, my path was going to go a different way. And my daughter was probably about 1 when I dove into postpartum care. I didn't even know it was a thing. I did a ton of Googling, talking to some people that I knew, some midwives, and took, as many trainings as I could. I started taking clients right away, fell in love with it, and then sort of expanded into lactation, teaching some classes, some childbirth ed, newborn care. I worked for a local hospital for a while. But I realized very quickly, once I started taking clients, that I only had 2 hands. So there was just such a cap on what I was, able to do. So I thought more about how to evolve my business. And, right now I've evolved it into an agency. So I see clients. I have other doulas who do labor and delivery. They do postpartum. They do lactation. I teach classes. They teach classes in person, virtually. I just came out with a digital course for business. And so it's sort of taken this turn into highlighting the business piece. We can do so much more and reach more people, and educate more people to know about, our businesses and postpartum care. And so I sort of focused on that, not taking focus away from, my postpartum doula and lactation trainings and the agency and the classes that I teach, but just sort of adding that. And people are realizing very quickly that, you need to set yourself apart from, other people in the birth community. And there is so much potential to grow our businesses. And it doesn't have to be something we do on the side or something, that we sort of do, but realize that, we have to do other things. We can create this bigger business, but still focusing on, our moms and babies.
And so how did that kind of lead you to your business for birth professionals? What was it about that really kind of made you go that direction?
So there's a part in the trainings that I teach, and I teach for CAPPA. So they're, a large organization, and they have a really great business part to their training. And I just started adding a little bit more and adding a little bit more. And then, saying to the people in the training, when you start getting clients and when you get rolling, call me, I want to talk more about it. And I sort of just started doing that. And I said, let's start a Facebook group. Let's do more group, classes. Let's do stuff in person. Let's do stuff online. And it was just a huge hit from the very beginning. People wanted to know more. And it's stuff that you can't really read about, or it doesn't come as naturally as the actual hands-on birth or postpartum care. So it's something that you actually need to sit down, learn about, study about, focus on. And so it sort of just naturally grew out of what was already in the training, but a huge expansion on it.
Yep, I totally get that. Teaching newborn care and newborn care specialty with what we do, it's the same thing. I mean, there's a great section in the CAPPA training that talks about newborns and how to take care of them and all kinds of stuff. But they're limited because if they included everything that you teach and everything that I teach and everything that they want to cover, we're talking a training that would be a week or two long at least. And so I totally get it and how that fulfills that niche. I have some questions a little bit more specific to this that I would love to cover with you. What is it about quality training that you feel matters? What is it that brings to the client?
So I feel like for, someone who's just looking into, taking a training, focusing on a very thorough curriculum, focusing on a very stable organization and one that's going to be there to support you along your, journey. And the trainer also, someone who's going to be there to support you long after you are done with the training. I think a big deal too, most of the people in the birth community that I know do multiple, different things. So, taking a training with an organization that has other, parts to it, different classes you can take, different trainings, different certifications. I think that makes a big deal too. But I think the experience of, the trainer, what they bring to the table besides the curriculum, because there's so much life experience that goes into it. And, the more clients you take, the more you see. And every time you have a new experience, that's education that you're bringing to your students. So it's not just the how to and why. It's the here's what is really going to happen. Here are the scenarios that you're going to encounter. And really spending the time to talk a lot about that in your training.
Yeah, absolutely. I say in newborn care all the time that the babies are our best teachers. And I think when we're servicing families and clients, those clients are our best teachers many times because
Absolutely.
they can't teach every scenario in training. No matter how good your trainer is, they can't cover every single possible scenario. They can give you the tools to deal with it, but real life is what teaches us a lot of the things that go along with it. But having those tools is key. What would you say about if somebody's looking into this, they think, hey, I want to be a postpartum doula, or I'm thinking postpartum doula training could really enhance what I'm already doing. How do they find and how do they choose a good educator, a good trainer for what they're looking at?
So I think what I always tell people, whether they're close to me or, all around the country, call the trainer. You can always find out from the organization who's in your area, call them, ask them a ton of questions, see what the communication is like, if they call you back or email you back in a timely fashion, but really get to know them a little bit. And I think most of us can feel when things are a good connection, even if it's just a phone call. And, now you can Zoom and FaceTime and you can see them and have those conversations, but definitely getting to know them and getting to know what they're going to bring to the table, what you're expecting of them, and what kind of mentorship. I think that's important too. What happens after the training? Am I on my own? Are you available for me? And I think that adds so much, when the trainer is there for support long after you sit in the actual training.
Hmm.
But I think people feel like they don't think of those things. They don't think that they can call them. A quick email or, hey, I'm going to register, but get to know them. I love when people call me. I love to, let them get to know me, and it allows them to make a good decision. Nothing worse than someone coming to your training and then having it be what they, less than what they expected or different than what they expected.
Right. So, say I'm a potential student. If I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling you, what kind of questions should I ask you that are going to give me kind of a sense of who you are or what you offer?
So I think, asking about the curriculum, I always sort of go over the highlights of the curriculum, the points. I talk about like the networking opportunities, the people in your class that are probably going to be, some of them people that you're going to rely on later, people that you might have to cover your shifts or you cover their shifts, or maybe you end up, connecting and being a partnership. Um, you know, the I keep my trainings pretty small, so there's lots of room for questions and answers. So it's a really nice sort of interactive training. And there is more after. It's not when we're done sitting together, it's over. And you can come back for the next training if you feel like there was so much information, which happens all the time. You leave and your mind is like going crazy because it's a lot for 2 or 3 days.
Right.
You can always come back, to the next one and sit in on the next one, whether it's 1 day or 2 days. You can call me after, we can email, we can go over stuff. I do a lot of, sort of Zoom and FaceTime. But I really talk about, what do you want to get out of this? Tell me what you want to do. Where do you see yourself a year from now? And if it's in a totally different direction than what they're going to get from my training, I'm very honest with them that, there might be something better or different out there for you. But I love to hear sort of what their plans are, how they heard about postpartum care. And I even like to ask, are your kids little? Are they in school yet? Are they off in college? If you have 4 kids, under 5, might not be super easy to get all the reading done, get out of the house, take the clients. So, I try to be really realistic with them, because, clients are sometimes a little more demanding than we expect them to be. And, we always want to be able to be flexible. And there's just, especially if you're doing, birth doula care, you have to be able to just zip out, when you need to, and you don't always have time to find childcare. But I really try to get to know them and get to know their situation and make sure it's the right fit for them.
Hmm. So, I love all of that advice. One of the questions that I see a lot from people is, okay, I took my training. How do I find my first clients? And one of the things that comes up a lot is, should I join up with an agency that's already in existence? Is that really worth it? Or should I maybe look at starting my own agency? Or what do I do?
Mhm.
So, how would you answer those questions for people?
So it's the answer's so different depending on the person. You can definitely tell when you have someone in a training that is a super go-getter. They're going to take off running. They're savvy on social media. They have some connections, maybe with some, obstetricians or midwives. Maybe they heard from a seasoned doula that this could be a good, sort of fit for them for a career. So they sort of have someone to attach themselves to once they're done with the training, like for overflow and things like that. That person is just going to be able to sort of get some clients in the beginning, build up a following, and be totally fine. There are some people who are so exceptional at the care piece, want nothing to do with contracts, invoices, marketing. They just want someone to say, hey, show up here. Those are the perfect people for an agency. They want to just do the work and they don't want to do anything else. And that's wonderful because that's what keeps, agencies moving. You can start off with an agency if you don't feel confident, in the beginning. And then as you, build up your confidence and build up clientele, you sort of go out on your own. I have lots of people that do both. They take some of their own clients. They take some clients from hip to heart. So it's just, it's sort of what suits that person the best, and nothing's ever set in stone. You don't have to be, a lifer in an agency. You can, transition at any time. Um, I think for me, starting an agency was, perfect because I actually train the people. So I could handpick the people that I knew would represent my business the way I wanted it to be represented. And I know scope of practice was, on point, and their quality of care was going to be similar to mine. So it was really a no-brainer. And at the time, I had 2 kids in 2 years, and it was unrealistic for me to be at someone's house for 40 hours a week, or potentially be taking multiple clients. So I wasn't ready to step back. I was just ready to move in a different direction. But I think, someone who is, really doing well, feels comfortable with, getting out there, getting clients, but has, more than they can handle, would be in a great place to start transitioning into an agency model. So maybe taking 1 or 2 independent contractors, utilizing them, and sort of transitioning slowly. It's incredible when it you can work it that way, because it's so rewarding to be able to take clients, but also, I love the management piece, and I love the back end piece too. So, the scheduling and all of that. So, um, again, it's sort of, it depends on the person, but it also depends on what stage you are. There's nothing wrong with starting off with an agency, growing out of it, taking your own clients, doing well, and then transitioning right into an agency. I mean, that would be everyone's ideal situation. Yeah, I mean, it's great that there's so many options. It sort of allows for everyone to succeed in some way. And that's exactly what we want.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree with you. And I talk to so many people who are like, what do you mean? I have to start a business? And it's like, no, you don't. You do need to have a basic understanding of just the core components of business, just to make sure if you're working with an agency that everything they're doing is done correctly, so you don't end up in any kind of trouble yourself. But you only need to know a little tiny bit in order to work very successfully with an agency. And I know a lot of both newborn care specialists and postpartum doulas who work with agencies who love doing that. They love that there's somebody like you to take the responsibility and to do all that. And so I tell people all the time, you don't have to start a business. You don't have to go out and run an agency. Or they say, I'm not competitive. I don't want to compete. There's other agencies in my area that are really good. And I tell them, fine, that's great, fine. Find the one that you love the best and that you align the best with, and go to work for them and let them take all the risk and handle all the headaches of running a business. And you just take good care of clients.
Yeah. And the beauty is, if you want to work 20 hours, great. I will only give you 20 hours. If you want to work 60 hours, I can find you 60 hours. If you only want to work 20 and we have a client that needs 40, we can split. So you don't ever have to worry about, a client demanding more than you have to give, and you're not going to leave them high and dry. There's someone else who can, sort of pick that up. So the clients are always happy with, less than they wanted or more than they wanted, or, they sort of get whatever they need.
Absolutely. So let's talk for a minute about the role. You mentioned this earlier, and you do it and I do it. So I know that we're very much in alignment on this. But let's talk a minute about mentorship and how a mentorship program like Business for Birth Professionals can benefit someone who's wanting to grow their individual business, or is thinking about starting an agency, or just wants to have a really clear understanding of the whole business side of it. How does a mentorship program work, and how does it benefit someone?
So we do a couple of different things. I do private consulting one-on-one. So if someone says to me, I'm at point A, I want to get to here, can I work with you? Can you help me? Of course I can. And the great thing about that is it's, on their own schedule. They don't have to be in a certain group at a certain time, and, they can do things at their own pace. We have lots of, sort of group business classes. Some I lead, more, and some of them are more, discussion. You get people in these groups who are sort of in the same place and doing the same thing. So it's a lot of discussing, here's what I do, here's what worked, here's what didn't. So those are great. And then the Facebook group, I think is the best part because, I ask a lot of questions. I try to get a lot of information from people because I want them to click with someone else who either did the exact same thing a year ago and succeeded, has been trying to do a Facebook ad and is not succeeding and needs some assistance. So it's not always me doing the educating. It's a lot of sort of peer-to-peer education. So anyone coming in can say, this is what I'm looking for, and we have something for everyone. And a lot of times it's women or people that I've trained that are just getting out of a training who need a little more guidance than someone who's had a business for a year but just needs, a little bit of direction or a sort of a little push. So we have all people, all levels of business and, people who are really successful and want to start an agency or start a collective. People who are loving doing, the in-person care, but want to add maybe a digital course or want to start doing more teaching. Because, digital courses it's something that you can, you do once and it's out there for people to, purchase. They can watch it at their own pace. They can watch it 100 times and, they could buy it while you're sleeping. So you don't actually have to physically be there, hourly, making a certain rate. You have created this and people can, buy it. So you're essentially, making money, all the time, some passive income. So ways to grow a business and increase revenue without increasing your weekly, hours of work. So I do a lot of that. And, I think now with everything with COVID and we're doing more stuff online, I think two things have happened. People have realized that they love taking classes and, getting education online. And the people who were teaching in person, are excited to get back to it, but have now sort of seen this whole new way to educate people and, sort of get their information out, get their classes out. I definitely don't want to stay doing virtual postpartum care any longer than I have to. But people are loving taking things like childbirth ed, newborn care, successful start to breastfeeding while they're in their pajamas in their living room, eating dinner. They don't have to sit in traffic and rush, and get to my 6:30 class anymore. So while I'm excited about that, I definitely see digital courses being a huge thing. And, I'm doing a lot of teaching on how to sort of create those now. Mm-hmm. So, the business for birth professionals is for everyone. Whatever level you're at, there's something for you. And whether it's me helping you or, your sort of peers in the group helping you, you'll definitely benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, we're big fans of digital learning because we've been doing that for a few years now. But I do get it. I miss teaching live and I miss that interaction of people because I do both.
Yep.
And I miss that. Is this something that if somebody says to you, hey, Jodi, I'm thinking about doing this, but I feel like the market's like really flooded with everybody doing everything virtual or everything digital right now. What would you tell them as a bit of advice around that?
So I think the market might be flooded with people doing, live virtual, where you have to be somewhere at a specific time. I don't see a lot in the birth community of digital courses. Can you find a great, sort of breastfeeding 101 class that you can, buy and watch prenatally and then watch again, when you're actually breastfeeding and having an issue? I don't see a lot of those. So that is something that I don't think the market is saturated with. And I think too, once you sort of get a following and you sort of have a reputation in your area, your classes are going to be what's sought after, not necessarily like because it's digital. And the greatest thing about, having, your own clients and, things being local is you can do some parts in person, some parts online. Or you can have a digital piece that they can just buy and watch over and over and over again. So you can do a good mix of both. But, I always encourage people that, even if the market is saturated, you'll do something different. You'll do something, better. You'll do something that, you figured out that your clients want and need that no one else is offering. So that sort of brings out, the creativity piece. It can't just be a blah 1, 2, 3 class. It has to be, something a little bit different. But sort of asking previous clients, doing a little, polling and market research, and see what people aren't finding, see what's lacking in the birth community. And that's what we're going to go after.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on that. It's so, and especially I loved your comment that you're still going to bring something a little bit different. You're going to do something a little bit better. Some things other people might do a little bit better, but there's always going to be something that's unique to you as an individual that brings something special to that class and will resonate with people. And I always tell students when they say, well, should I take your class? Should I take another class? I give them the same advice that you did, which is talk to the trainers, find out what they have to say. And then I tell them, find who you resonate with, find who you really feel a connection with. And that's the class you should take. And I think that's going to be the same, even if it seems like the market is flooded, if it seems like there's too many, there's still going to be something unique and special that each person brings.
Yeah. It's funny. You will always find someone that needs your services, whatever your services are. Because the birth community is growing, leaps and bounds. And, while that's incredible, the market at some point will be saturated. For every one person that's giving birth, they could have 4 doulas. But, with labor and delivery and with postpartum care and breastfeeding and all of that, it's such a personal experience that it's not like taking a marketing class. You need to find someone that you absolutely connect with, that you just sort of feel the feels when you, meet them and talk to them. And, that's what's going to make someone successful, or keep them successful, I should say.
Yep, I totally agree. And I tell my students all the time, there is literally a new potential client born every single second.
Yep.
So there's plenty of people who are going to resonate with you and want to work specifically with you. So there's so much great information that you've already shared with us. Is there anything else that you want to share tonight or speak to or leave with our people who are watching?
Just that, never not go for something, like you said, because you think there's already too many people doing it. And, if you think postpartum care or, doula care is something that, connects with you, and you sort of always been wanting to do it, call your trainer, ask around, ask other people in the birth community, hey, what do you love about this? What don't you like about this? How did you get into this? Here's my situation. Do you think I'd be good at it, or do you think it would fit my lifestyle? Ask around, get lots of personal, experiences, and go from there. Don't just, sort of read some comments on like a feed somewhere and then say, oh, I don't think it's for me. People are afraid to ask questions, but that's how you get the best information. That's how you can sort of navigate, what your next move is. And if someone says, can I ask you, a personal question? Or, of course you can, if it's going to help you make a good decision for yourself, or it's going to sort of stop you from making a bad decision. Absolutely. That's what this is all about. It's, being open and being honest. And, I think that people need to sort of ask more, reach out more to, professionals and, other people, in certain groups that they're in, or, it's sometimes intimidating, but you gotta just go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the idea of asking questions. And I tell people, if you think this is an industry that you want to get into, or this is what you have trained to do and you want to know how to get started, here's a good opportunity to practice your open-ended questions. Because when you ask open-ended questions and you leave room for people to answer, you oftentimes get way more information than you even thought you were going after.
Yeah, yeah. And it's kind of funny, the people who don't want to speak in class or, read in class or ask questions, I respect that, as much as I can. But as far as asking questions, I don't say, does anyone have questions? I'll say, you know, everyone think of two questions that they have. So it's almost like when you're doing postpartum care, you don't say, can I make you lunch, or do you want me to make you lunch? You say, do you want turkey or tuna? So you don't give anyone an opportunity to say no, thank you. Because they may not want to reach out, sort of for that help, and they may, say, oh, I can get it myself. But if you just give them two choices, then they have no, room to say no. But I'll say, everyone think of two questions. So people always have questions up there somewhere. They just don't, they either wait for someone else to ask it, or they don't raise their hand. But I sort of force them to think about, what they want to ask, and ask it.
Yeah, absolutely. I always tell them too that, look, if you have the question, I can almost guarantee you at least one other person in the room has that same question and wants to know. It's just a matter of who's going to ask it.
Yep.
And get it out there. So
Yep.
I have loved the information that you're sharing. We're going to include in the feed where people can reach you
Sure.
if they're interested in knowing more about training as a postpartum doula or any of the other trainings that you offer, and also where they can find out about your business for birth professionals. We'll have that all in the feed there. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you sharing your expertise. I can tell that you're passionate about what you do, which is what, to me, is the mark of a good trainer, because when we love what we do, we want to share it with other people.
100%.
So I love that. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have questions for Jodi, please put them in the feed and tag her or tag Newborn Care Solutions, and we will make sure and get those questions to her so that she can answer them for you. Be sure also to join us here every Sunday night at 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern Time for Real Talk, where we offer educational opportunities and talk about real topics, real issues, and offer real solutions. Have a great night.